And a good example of that are the Maoris of New Zealand. The Maoris were never conquered by the British. They were so good at fighting, since they were fighting with each other all the time in the little islands of New Zealand, that the Europeans with English with their guns couldn't conquer them, so they had to sign the Treaty of Waitangi. And as a result, New Zealand is a bicultural country. And it's a kind of an interesting example. So where this system has led to is it's led to a system of complete dependency on the federal government, even though there are communities that are generating their own revenue. The big globe with Canada in it is intended to represent the federal government. Almost all of our wealth comes in transfer payments. We haven't very many businesses, so it almost goes right back out. And so it puts us in a situation of complete dependency. And the number one rule of dependency is the more dependent you are, the less control you have over your destiny. So in the past, when the Department of Indian Affairs has said to us, jump, the only question our chiefs have is how high? Because he who has the gold makes the rules, and if somebody else is controlling our purse strings, they control us. It's if we were Chinese, it would be the same situation. And if you take any Business 101 course, and all of your revenue is coming from one client, that's a very, very dangerous situation, you'll be told, because you're in a situation of either being completely controlled by that client, or they're in a situation of putting you out of business. So for our leadership, they've been conditioned into just looking to the federal government for answers. Well, I mean, it should be obvious to everyone, the federal government can't even figure out what it's doing with itself, let alone what it wants to do with us. And the fundamental thing is that no one else can have our self-interest in mind. Can you imagine one of the chiefs like Geronimo being told, don't worry, chief, we're going to look after your tribe. We're 5,000 miles away from you. We don't know anything about your people, but we have your best interests at heart. What Geronimo would probably tell that person is that they've probably been smoking the wrong thing in the pipe. It makes no sense whatsoever. Who would do that? Who would willingly surrender control over their lives and everything that is important to human beings to some faceless, monolithic bureaucracy who couldn't give a crap about us? But that's what's happened to us. And so unfortunately, at least for the older generation chiefs, is their total solution to our problems has been to go back to the federal government. Well, why should we be defining ourselves by what the federal government tells us we should be? Whatever happened to our tribal system and sense of pride, where we defined ourselves by who we were, who we thought we were? The federal government gives us enough money to manage our own poverty. Well, it's time for us to pick ourselves up and start looking after ourselves. And this has led to a whole psychological profile. And this profile is true in any situation in which you look at it. I've identified, and if I have time, and I probably won't because I'm talking too much, to talk about some of the ideas in my next book, I can show you examples of populations throughout the world where this mindset that Aboriginal people have found themselves in, this dependency mindset, is the same no matter what your culture is. Anybody put into a situation of enforced dependency will react with the same mindset. We think because we're different people ethnically, because you're Scottish and I'm Jim Shen and somebody else is Chinese, that we're so different because we speak different languages, we have different customs. But most of us forget it was only 300,000 to 400,000 years ago, and I blink in evolutionary terms, we went from being Homo erectus to Homo sapiens. Not very long time ago. So at some level, we react the same way as human beings, as social animals, when put in the same situation. And economic dependency is one of them. Look at Germany. Took the East Germans 50 years of communism, where the same deal is, you allow us to be oligarchs and run everything, and we'll give you substandard everything. And the East Germans have the same state of mindset as Aboriginal people. And you can look at other situations. And when you look at the details of those of that mindset, it results in certain things, in a certain kind of psychological profile. It results in a sense of entitlement or expectancy. It results in abandoning of self-responsibility and accountability. It results in a sense of inferiority and a whole laundry list of things. And this same mindset is impacting the Western world in a way that most of us don't even understand, because it's only been in this recent generation, the generation of Generation Y, that we have had enough wealth that we're spoiling the kids in the middle class, our own children. And we are thinking that we're going to give our kids these things that we never had, and material things. And because we never had them, and it's going to make things better for them. It's resulting in a mindset which psychologists called affluenza. And these middle-class kids are developing a mindset of economic dependency, where they have a huge sense of entitlement and the inability to be self-sufficient, and they have problems of learned helplessness. It's all the same thing. And what we have to do, I think, is try to paint a picture for those kids and our families, so that we understand how this works. Because it's only since the late 1990s that our society has had enough wealth where we're able to do this. And the paradox about all of this is that it's our wealth that has allowed us to create economic dependency.